So Palworld came out recently, and I ended up playing it all day yesterday, and I have to say, it's good. I usually find that these Rust-esque survival games are too tedious and hard to get a good experience out of, but this game had an answer to that by adding elements that are proven on their own and mashing them up in some harmonious way. It's basically Ark plus Tears of the Wild plus Pokemon and mix well. There's two major elements to the gameplay. You go out and explore, you fight and catch pals, and take on different challenges. And then there's the camp side of things, where you put your pals to work, grinding for resources, manufacturing, so forth. And every now and then, your base gets attacked by some outside force. And it gets really chaotic when the pals start shooting their moves everywhere. In my opinion, this game is better than Pokemon. Although the point-and-click building system needs a little work, it's frustrating at times. And there should be a more developed hotkey system, so that the seasoned player can move things around with ease, not so much dragging and dropping. And I don't know about everybody else who's played the game, but I got some major chug when there's too many pals doing too much stuff at once. When they raided my base, it was like I was watching on a public access CCTV. So let's talk about the elephant in the room now. Aside from building a base and getting to like level 13, I would run across the map to see what I could see. And as far as I could tell, every single type of pal that I encountered, including this Spurdo looking guy, each one of them looked like a specific type of Pokemon. It's not just that they all look Pokemon-ish, or that they copied the general design of the most popular Pokemon. It's more like they ran the entire Pokedex through an AI image generator to change it up just a bit. And I don't point this out to suggest that this team is lazy. It's more so that they've got some fucking balls. I mean, the fact that all the elements come together so well makes me think that this is a passion project as much as anything else. I mean, you have to be willing to put in the hours, playtesting and reworking, testing and reworking. I mean, not even many of the so-called AAAs put out a product that's well tested for a good experience anymore. But these guys put in so much effort, and for some reason actually lean in to look closer like Pokemon than necessary. Like they don't know the history of Nintendo and Pokemon with copyright. And yeah, I do know that Nintendo put out a statement saying that they understand fair use now. But it's easy to say or write things down. You have to look at their actions. Like when they took down a Pokemon-themed video by Smosh, back when they were still pretending to not understand fair use. I mean, it's Smosh, you know, they're part of the generation that grew up with the original Pokemon. They were basically celebrating Pokemon and keeping it relevant with their audience, so were they and their audience already too old? Does Nintendo only want 6-year-olds with their mommy's credit card? Oh, by the way, Nintendo likes to point out that Nintendo and Pokemon are actually separate companies. But that's kind of like how Google and Alphabet are separate companies. I don't care. Nintendo has a habit of slapping down the emulation community with copyright, even when the games being emulated, and often modded to keep them alive, are no longer sold by Nintendo. They literally lose no money on this, and perhaps in some tangential way, it even helps their business. They could have gone after that retro money themselves if they wanted to, but what they really seem to care the most about is control. Like when they shut down Super Smash Bros. Tournaments because they deem them not official. They want control over their product and their image so badly that now they're doing damage control. But don't think that that means that their mentality has actually changed. Of course they knew about fair use laws in America. That's why they would only slap smaller channels who didn't have the resources to make a case in court. They wouldn't risk the PR damage if it was a larger company doing something that was well within fair use in America. Nintendo has a lot of characters and content that is right for outside artists to turn into Rule 34 content, which indeed happens in large amounts. This is obviously using their characters to make content that is not appropriate for kids, Nintendo's main target demographic. At least ostensibly. From what I could gather, Nintendo does hate this stuff, but they only have good footing to move in and take it down when the artists are making money from it, or when the characters depicted are very young, like under 10. Palworld has been criticized for being offensive in terms of the use of firearms and the general appearance of human abuse towards these creatures. Now, supposedly, according to internet lawyers, Nintendo doesn't have a copyright case with Palworld, because the pals are not completely identical to Pokemon and don't use their names. So Palworld, despite again leaning extra close to the Pokemon IPs, is more simply considered to be utilizing the same monster catcher genre, which includes many other popular franchises and existed before Pokemon. It's true, if they had an easy case, Nintendo would have already attacked, as this game is a threat to them as they continually failed to follow their audience as they grow up. I mean, plot and material-wise, many of the games are the same as they were 25 years ago. And they created some classics, but how many times can you experience the same formula and still care? That's where other, more experimental games like this one pick up the slack. But Nintendo wants the adults too, and they don't want to do anything special to keep them. Don't think Palworld is the woods with Nintendo just because they're not exactly the same as the Pokemon. If Nintendo is motivated enough, they're not afraid to bring out the hammer in some legal gray areas. For example, ROM hacks have a fairly decent but not airtight argument for being protected under fair use. Nintendo has taken down a ROM hack that took 8 years of development known as Pokemon Prism. They were successful in doing so mainly because its creators chose to leave in the heavy Pokemon branding in the title screen and the intro. Basically, while it might have been transformative, Pokemon had a bit of an argument that they were posing as one of Pokemon's products. products, and that they couldn't abide this due to their need to control the brand's image. Pokemon Uranium was taken down preemptively by its creators, right after Nintendo showed they had the balls to take down a highly popular Metroid hack. Nintendo is actually really inconsistent about these sorts of takedowns, which would make one think that they don't have the most eagle-eyed legal team, or it's some executive who isn't terminally online who calls these shots. Which means a hack usually has to create some buzz in the media before they take notice and try to take it down, which is a bad PR strategy. But anyways, we can be pretty sure they all know about Palworld. I would guess that they won't strike when there is so much attention right now on their next move, but they are busy looking for the best case to try and take down this rival. If they are willing to really get their hands dirty on this one, they can just continually sue them with bogus cases until the smaller Palworld team can no longer keep up with the legal fees. It would be a battle of influence and know-how to work the system, on top of them just having a lot more money. For example, Monster Energy, who has actually sued Pokemon in the past over their use of the term monster, by the way. Monster Energy will go after seemingly any brand that uses the word monster in their branding. They just don't care. It's clearly a part of their general business strategy. They just claim that they need control of the word in every niche because Monster sells a wide range of products, but they do have a lot of success in taking down random small businesses. Monster has also successfully sued rival Bang Energy for claiming that their product contains something called super creatine, which of course is a claim to have some kind of health benefits to differentiate themselves from their rivals. When it was proven Bang Energy actually has no creatine in their drinks, Monster was awarded more than $200 million for their trouble. And that's probably because it's Monster's thing to make flimsy claims about health benefits. In the branding on the cans, they write down taurine, ginseng, amino acids, which I'm sure do exist in trace amounts to keep themselves legally safe with those claims. But I really doubt there's any actual health benefits there which they could prove. But Bang didn't want that fight. The point is, nothing is off the table with these things. It's just a matter of how much power and influence a corporation has, and how low they are willing to sink, and what risks they are willing to take to win. Those internet legal experts are not acknowledging how wild these sorts of wars get when a corporation chooses all-out aggression. The fact that the pals each look so similar to individual Pokemon isn't a lot, but it's something to latch onto and attack relentlessly nonetheless. For example, these Pokemon-like entities are damaging to our brand image because of XYZ offensive elements in the game. It is like they have created effigies of our beloved creations, just to tarnish their images and spoil their innocence. How can you stand idly by when our young children fans are exposed to this filth in their search for more Pokemon content? Are they trying to make Pokefans worship the gun devil? This kind of thing might not happen often in Japan, where prosecutors like to wait to build an airtight case before making their move. But in America, lots of crazier things have happened. It's just a matter of whether and when Nintendo deems it worth the bad PR, which may not be today, but perhaps when things get a little quieter. As it happens, even some of the heavy Pokemon fans might be on board with such an assault, according to the opinions of some of the more intense fans on Twitter. And the actual little kids and their parents are quite indifferent to the whole thing, really. Anyways, that's all. I got big videos to work on, but I'm interested to see how this all plays out. And also, follow me on Kick. It's right there in the description.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Okay.
Okay?
Are you?
Absolutely.